Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the Arnold Palmer Invitational. This is my DFS preview show with a focus on the best bets that you want to put down before the sharp money starts hitting those numbers. And with that said, I'm also going to do a recap of the Honda Classic. I'm going to give you all the models and analysis that you're used to. And also, I've got a giveaway for the players. So with all that said, thank you for stopping by. If you're new, for checking me out, give me about 30 minutes. Going to give you everything you need to know to get the brain going about who you want to play, get you that edge from a DFS perspective, and also maybe most importantly, let's get those bets in before the smart money starts hitting them. Okay, let's talk some golf. Okay, let's real quickly talk about the giveaway that I have coming up for the players. And what is this? I am giving away 5 random lucky winners, $100 each, which I think the Millie Maker is $25 right now. So I get you 4 entries in that. You might be able to parlay that 4 entries into a nice $1,000,000. That'd be great. What do you need to do to be in this contest or giveaway? Real simple. Just click that like button. If you're not a subscriber, I need you to subscribe because, of course, you want to get all my shows and updates. But also to put in the YouTube comments below, I need to know who do you think is going to win the players. That's it. That's all you need to do. Let's do that one more time. Just click that like button. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and just tell me who do you think is going to win the players. Then I will, of course, notify probably on the last would be my before the lock show during the players, before the players. Okay, let's get into this. All right, so real quick, let's talk about the Honda Classic because it was a little crazy. There was a little plot twist at the end that I did not see coming. I think probably a lot of us, if you watched all 4 days, felt like it was kind of a foregone conclusion that Daniel Berger was going to win this thing. He came into the morning with a 5-shot lead, was playing amazing golf, right? He shot a 65, 65, I think 69. And the only person that I thought, if things went a little sideways, would be Lowry. I threw a live bet on him, I think after the third, when Berger hit that drive behind kind of the trees on number 3, where, of course, he took the double. I got my money in. I think it was 6-1 odds at that time. And thought for sure it looked like, Lowry had a 2-stroke lead. That would be the end of that. That is not how it worked out. Of course, Seb Straka is your winner. He's another first-time winner, so we're going to talk a little bit about that during this preview show. But we've been on a hot streak of these first-time winners, and I'm a little bitter. I mean, honestly, Seb Straka, well, we could take a look at, some of his recent, where his best finishes are. I mean, the best event that I've seen him at in my brain would have been, of course, the Olympics. His first round, I think he was leading the field. I mean, he went out and just went on fire. He's also not the skill set exactly that I was looking for this event. But as we see again, I would think of him as more of a bomber slash, good ball striker. And you can see the putting over his last, let's say about, 8 events, kind of off and on. But he did have a real nice showing at the Genesis with the putter. And then, of course, he gained 6 strokes on Bermuda. So that was the difference, right? He birdied the last, 3 out of 4 holes to come kind of, I don't say come out of nowhere, but I look at this event as, there's certain events where guys go out and just win it. And then there's certain events where guys lose it. And I feel like Daniel Berger just lost this event. His putter, I think he lost over 4 strokes with the putter and, just was hitting the shots that he wasn't doing the first 3 days, where he knew at this course, there's certain places you can miss it, and all he had needed to do was go out and literally just shoot par or 1 or 2 over, and he still would have won the tournament. So it was a bit shocking. Of course, I had Sungjae Im from a one-and-done perspective. That was more shocking that he didn't make the cut. You had, who else blew up that didn't make the cut? I mean, you almost had Louis Oosthuizen. I tweeted out, I think on Friday, watch out for the WD from Matthew Wolff. At that time, it was like 8 over going into Friday morning. I think Louis was like 4 or 5 over. And then he turned it all around, and Wolff went, just down the rabbit hole that Wolff can. I think he tied for the worst round, 17 over after 2 days. It was crazy. But we're going to actually, funny enough, talk about Matthew Wolff. All right, back to Seb. So you can see we had a little bit of 10. And what I wanted to talk about was what I found out, and I found this out actually today, is that start of the new year, he started working with Matt Tillery as his new kind of coach instructor. And you can see that these dividends have been paying off. I mean, he's made his last 6 cuts. He had a 16th at the Farmers, a 15th at Genesis. Of course, both of those are on POA. They're West Coast. But there was nothing, straight up, that I didn't put him as even a long shot pick. it always bothers me when there's a guy, I don't know what his odds, I didn't even check, but I would guess he had to be somewhere at least 60, 70 to 1, maybe 100 plus to 1. So you guys know I love the long shots. That's what I focus on in this show. So yeah, but good for Sub. I'm a big fan. I always have been. Playing quite a bit in Showdown. But yeah, I don't. No one was talking about Sub Straka, not even me. So good on him. Of course, from a pick standpoint, if Berger would have won, I had a really nice. I was going to give myself an A on my picks, but with Berger kind of falling back, Kirk, and we'll go over some of the guys that I had. It hurt. So yeah, there's Berger. I mean, also I didn't talk about the rain. So you had Lowry had the presser after, and especially when I saw the rain was going to kick up. Of course, we all know at Portrush how well that Lowry. Hence why I also put that bet on him. If it was going to get, and it did. It got a bit windy. The rain came in, of course, only on the last couple holes for these guys. Again, you would think Lowry, but it was really coming down hard when he hit his tee shot. Seb Straka, when he hit his tee shot, was not nowhere near it. And so, of course, on his approach for Lowry, he was, I think, 43 feet out. And, he was hitting, a wedge or sandwich. So that's a little unforgivable. So, yeah, I was shocked. I mean, even when Straka got to 10 under, I never had a doubt in my mind that Lowry wouldn't birdie to go into a playoff, but that didn't happen. Also, what was interesting, I don't know if you guys saw this, I'll just a little side note about Berger. He even put out there after his second day of a 65, he was shooting 10 under at that point. So literally, that's the winning score. And he said that. He said the winning score could literally be 10 under. And what a premonition or just a statement. And then it actually comes to fruition. So, again, another perfect instance of golf being golf, how hard it is to do what we do, trying to dive into all the data and everything that we know that's going on to tell you guys who we think will win. It's very difficult. And again, and also my Richie Wawrinski, that little project did not work. But hey, he almost made the cut, and it would have been nice to see that. But I've got another super duper long shot for you guys this week. Maybe it'll hit. All right, let's just look at some analysis for you guys, some stroke gain analysis on what the guys did well. And maybe, I'll talk about the guys that also didn't do well. You're going to see that the stars are some of my picks that I had. Again, I tweeted out, I think, going into Saturday, that I had the top 4 out of 5 guys going. I was excited about that. And then again, like I said, Berger fell apart. But Lowry, I told you guys I was kind of between Fleetwood and Lowry, and I just kind of the gut feeling just told me every time I go with, pick Fleetwood, it typically does not work out well. Luckily, also, he missed a cut. I'm glad that, Lowry was in my lineup comparative. But we had Lowry, Berger, Chris Kirk, Adam Svensson. That would have been awesome. I had a nice bet on him. I think he was like 110 or something like that to 1. He was the guy that I was rooting for, but oh my gosh, he missed 4 putts inside of 3 feet. So the one thing we know about Adam is, he's not a good putter. He's reminds me a little bit of Sheffield in the Scotty that I like Scotty outside 10 feet. When I was watching Adam on, ShotLink and live, I was just like, oh, please give him a 10-footer, not a 3-footer. But anyways, Killer Keith was one of my picks. It was nice to see. He made a bit of a charge even on Sunday. He was actually doing really well. And then I think he double bogeyed a hole. Brian Stewart, guys, by Jackson, Michigan, man. If you played him, 6,600, got you, would have definitely been a help to get you some more guys up top. Mark Hubbard, another pick of mine, a guy that I've been on. He was up there like in 3rd place starting off and fell apart. And then Billy Ho, which I actually saw another analyst literally said fade him. And I was really shocked by that they were telling, like, yes, he didn't win or didn't, he was, I don't know, whatever, in the top 15. But it came out later that Billy Hull and even Brooks Koepka stated that they just didn't like the greens and they just visually could not get the lines. And so if Billy Horschel could have putted at all, he lost, and this is very rare for Billy Horschel to lose almost 2 strokes on Bermuda, and he gained, almost led the field in ball striking. If his putter would have popped, you would have had your winner right there. No way possible. I think Billy Hull would have won that tournament. Okay, so that's a little bit about the good guys, and I'm gonna give myself a B to B plus. Like I said, if Berger would have won and Lowry came in second and Kirk would have stayed up there, I'd have given myself the AA minus because I really like the picks. It all worked out pretty well. Just out of nowhere, Sepp Straka wins his first tournament. Also, just side note, yeah, Kurt Kitayama, who again, I heard another analyst, and I had no um, thought process whatsoever. Kitayama wasn't even in my radar, but there was another big name analyst who literally they laughed when they were going through their betting and said Kurt Kitayama, just chuckled, and I was like, wouldn't that be crazy if he went out and won? And I'm not saying I was picking him or nothing like that, but just side note, he was your first round leader. So Daniel Berger, at one time, I thought I was going to be coming on here and say, hey, we have another almost wire-to-wire winner. That wasn't the case. You had Kitayama, who led the first day to 64 and played amazing golf for, I don't know how many missed cuts, hasn't been relative at all. You had guys that like qualified, Monday qualified, that were in the contention. It was crazy. I mean, it was a weak field. We all know that. And some of the better players did. Woodland had a great Sunday. Someone to keep an eye on in future. Played him a little bit in showdown, and if you're curious how I did well in my showdowns. I did okay overall the whole 4 days. Pretty much got my money back from the classic 4-day events. In my finale, it was okay. Finale Sundays, I've told you guys from a showdown perspective, I'm not a huge fan because it kind of takes the artwork out of showdown where, because of the placement points, a lot of people just pick the top guys. And unless, this one was, if you didn't pick Daniel Berger and you picked, I don't know, Cameron Young, who had the best round on Sunday, you're going to have a better shot. And I did. I took some that were status quo, and I took some that were a little off the cuff. All right, and the last thing I'll just show you, if you want to see the guys that just did brutal, here you go. So I highlighted the guys that I picked. Right, I picked Sadoshi as my below 7K. He just stunk it up. Also, I had him as a first-round leader. I think he shot 8 over the first day, so that didn't work. My Stuart Sink experiment, thought he'd do well here. He played terrible, shot 12 over. And your worst two players, which Villajagas, I'm pretty sure, is a pastime winner at the Honda. Of course, this is a long time ago, Camilo. But I said Wolf is going to be an interesting discussion for this upcoming tournament. And like I said, there's no reason to dive into details here. You can just see, Jimmy Walker lost almost 6 strokes putting. These top two guys just lost strokes left and right. We'll talk about Wolf in a little bit. All right, let's get on to the Arnold Palmer. All right, we're staying in Florida, and we are working our way towards up into the middle of the state, right there by Disney World, where I just was at for vacation. Beautiful Orlando, Florida. Of course, we're playing Bay Hill Country Club. It was founded a long time ago, but this tournament has been hosted there since 1979. Dick Wilson was your original architect, but of course, then Arnie came in and redesigned this, saying, of course, this is Arnie's tournament. And if you're curious where I land on the fence between Arnie and Jack, I've always been a huge Arnie fan. I have nothing against Jack, but growing up, for whatever reason, just kind of went to the Arnie's army. That's just kind of the camp that if you said which side did you revive on, that's where. If you asked between Tiger Woods and Mickelson, funny enough, I wasn't really either or. Just that was me. I don't know why. I was always for anybody that was in the field that wasn't Woods or Mickelson. So figure that out. It is a par 72. We are over 7,400 yards. It is a big boy course, but we do have more par 5s to get some more scoring here. We're still on Bermuda. We're in Florida, and the difference here is the rough is penal. We've seen it in the past. It's going to start around 3 inches. It's going to grow, and of course, if we get any kind of rain beforehand or after, I've not checked weather, that rough is just going to get tougher and harder to get out of. And we're still on these TifEagle overseeded Bermuda greens. These greens typically run super fast. So right now, what the superintendents are stating is they're running at a 12 on a stem meter. What does that mean? That's fast, almost bordering lightning. I'm predicting that if we get what the weather that we've been getting there, and it's been hot in Orlando, at least when I left, and even this past week, that they're probably going to get to 13, which is kind of Augusta master speed, because they're just going to get baked out a little bit. We saw that a little bit at the Honda Classic. Your player feels a little bit smaller than what we just had. We had 144 at the Honda. We have 120. It is an invitational. So what does that mean from a DFS GPP perspective? You do have a better shot of 6-6 getting through. I want to say 50-50, but it's pretty close. Same top 65 in ties, depending on how that all works out. Your historical cut line here over the past 5 years or so is somewhere about +2 to +4 is what the guys are going to need, like what we just saw at PGA National at the Honda. And then if you want to know your winning score, so I just tweeted this out, that Big Bad Bryson, who won this tournament last year at 11 under, he announced on Twitter he's withdrawing. I guess he's feeling like he couldn't be at 100%. he's still working his kinks out and hitting balls and all that. But so he has withdrawn for the tournament, so you can remove him from your thought process. Then you had the year before, Terrell Hatton. This isn't too far off when he came by. Or is this? Trying to remember, this is right. This I guess would have been right before the COVID shutdown. But anyways, he won at 4 under. The weather was ridiculous, crazy. So hence why that score is going to be kind of an anomaly. And then you had Francesco Molinari. So you can kind of see a little bit of trend where, you know, it. If I looked at Terrell and Molinari, I'd say right off the bat, oh, you just need to be really good with the irons, good putter. Terrell's Hatton's got a little bit of distance. Molinari is more of, I'd say, a strategic kind of plotter. But then you get into some of the other guys, like Rory McIlroy, who won here previously, the previous year, which would have been, I guess that'd been 2019. Might be getting that mixed up. Maybe that's 2018. He shot 18 under. Then you had Leishman, just put there, also added in 2017, won at 11 under. And he actually was runner-up the year Terrell Hatton won, I believe. So Mark Leishman's had some really good past, history at this tournament. Your green size is 7,500 square feet, so these are large greens, larger than average. Number of sand bunkers, a ton. You got 84 sand bunkers, more than what we saw at the Riv and also here recently at the Honda. A lot like the Honda, you got 9 holes that do come into water, so water is definitely a factor. And I already talked about how fast the greens are. So again, like the Honda, you put water and wind together, it's a deadly combo for scores to go a little sideways. But we'll see how that all works out. The one thing I note here is that fairways are at a premium. So, guys that have distance, of course, with hitting fairways is going to do well here. As when you're trying to hit your approach shots out of the rough, it's very tough to do that. And about 30%, and I'm going to mention this later, but about 30% of your shots coming in at this course is going to be 200 plus. So even makes it more difficult. Hence why DeChambeau did so well here is, I've talked about this hundreds of times, that when he's in tall rough, he has an advantage because he's hitting a higher lofted club. And he also has a very steep plane of attack, his swing, and it just makes it a lot easier. Hence when he won the U.S. Open also at Winged Foot. All right, some past notes that I had here. So last year was kind of crazy, right? There was 3 hole-in-ones here, which that's rare. So I put this in here. If you're someone that likes to bet, is there going to be a hole-in-one or not? There has been. Of course, there was 3 last year. You had the Jazz Chattaneo, whatever his name is. He had one. You had Jordan Spieth, who had a crazy short game show here, but also had a hole-in-one. You had Kenny Ventura, who didn't play that well at all, if I remember right, but he did have a hole-in-one. If you want some just little side notes, the best round 1 score here ever was Adam Scott in 2014, shot at 62, and he also had that same year the best 54-hole score. You had Martin Laird, who actually shot a 75 here, and I don't know what round that came in, if I remember correctly, but he did win in 2011, so Party Marty has a win here. You got a wire-to-wire winner, which was Jason Day in 2016. And the one note that I thought was interesting I put in here from past was course history shows up over and over. So course history with success is the best, but just having course history definitely does help. And it just shows the top finishers over and over have good course history here with success. And then I put the other note was course history over recent form tends to also show up for the top 10 finishers. So something to think about. As I always do, give you guys a quick overview. Now, if you, for some reason, have never watched this tournament, I always state this. Go to YouTube, watch round 1, round 2 highlights of 2021 or any of the years if you want to get yourself acclimated. But this is going to give you a really good understanding. You can see like these lakes that they put, multiple holes. I don't think they're man-made. I mean, in Florida, you have a lot of these pop-up lakes. Of course, you are, more center of the state when you're in Orlando. So you're not going to have that, repeated wind. But I did notice even when I was there from past, you get these crazy just gusts out of nowhere where no wind and then all of a sudden it's windy for a bit and then it's not. That seems to be more like in Orlando. Hole number 6, this is that par 5 that Bryson DeChambeau, everybody, freaked out about, almost drove the green. He did not drive the green. He was 80 yards over here to the right. It was honestly kind of made it a very difficult shot. He birdied the hole, but, you could easily put it here. I don't know. I think it was a little more blown. I mean, it was cool for golf. And if he would have put it on, that would have been something different. But, he knew. He kind of laid it off over here to the right. But yeah, just gives you kind of a good flow. All you really need to know is that, there's some fairways here to hit. But if you get off, you're going to be in trouble, and you can see all the water that can definitely get in and play. Now to get a little more detailed about these holes, it is not a gentle handshake. So if you're teeing off on one and two are two of the hardest holes, and the big thing here is the par threes are very difficult. I think the shortest par three, somewhere around like 175. Where is it at here? Might be all two, but let me just verify. Two, 199. So yeah, remove that. It's 200 to 230. So I did put that in the model that we're going to look at. I think that is key. Again, think about Bryson, where some guys are hitting, I don't know, 6 iron, 7 iron. I'm sorry, 6 iron, 5 iron, 4 iron. He's going to be, a couple clubs less. So again, if you play the game of golf, you do know that hitting a pitching wedge comparative to a 5 iron is a whole different ball game. A little different for these guys, but for the average person, but it still comes into effect. Anyways, you also got number 8's number 2 handicap hole, and then just like we just saw at the Honda, the last couple holes could change the tournament. Very difficult holes coming in. And then again, in the mids is where you got your scoring holes. But you do have 4 par 5s. I wouldn't say they're easier, just, super gettable, but they're par 5s for these guys. But they are long. They're 550 to 600, 3 of them. So we're going to look at that in the model. I think that's about everything I would tell you. I mean, you can kind of get an idea over here. It's kind of, it starts off tough, it ends tough, and then you got a couple holes in the middle. But I think it plays a little easier than PGA National, to be honest, which, scores show that. And again, it helps that you got four par 5s. So if you go out and par the rest of them, you've got an ability to go 4 under if you just birdie the par 5s. And I like to make sure that this information is up to date, and it is. None of these holes are different, all the yardage. So I do this more for my own and for you guys that, they didn't make a significant change, turn a par 4 into a par 5 or flip that around, or that there was, some main change. The yardage is the yardage, but you can move those things around and move the tees, new tees, whatever it is, but everything is spot on. So all that information there you can use. We're good to go. One of the more important things that I ever talked to you about, guys, is from if you do your own stroke gain analysis, of course, I'm using it. That's a lot of what we're talking about here and how I do a bit of my picks. Of course, I'm not just picking off on who I think. I do use historical data to make these decisions along with everything, of course, that I see and know what's going on. And with that said, the number one thing here, of course, is ball striking. I've always stated this to you guys. Anytime you got these long approaches in, we need really good ball strikers, and you have to be very good tee to green here. Of course, approach is always going to be a huge factor in every tournament. One thing that is never going to change is just maybe how you weight these. I think ball striking, I'm weighting it the heaviest. Then approach. You got off the tee, which you could go with distance and fairways and regulation. That's honestly what off the tee is who hits the ball the furthest. It hits in the fairway. So I'm just using off the tee. Putting shows up around the green, sand save, scrambling. I already mentioned this proximity of the pin comes up almost 30% of the shots are from 200 over. That's a huge number. And I might actually play with my model a little bit. I think I got that at 5%. I might up that a little bit. You got to gain strokes or at least just get par. But I want to see the guys that can handle these long par 4s. There's 5 of them, 450 to 500. You've also want to see the guys who can take advantage of these long par 5s, 550 to 600. There's 3 of those, and then there's one shorter one. And then I mentioned the par 3. So, the 175 to 200, there's only one of those. That's 199. So really, you could just say who does well on par 3s, 200 plus. And then there's birdies and eagles to be had here. So not like at PGA National where I was more concerned about bogey avoidance. Now I do want to look for guys that tend to, score. And so with that said, I like to verify that. And how I always do that is I go look at the past winners from the past tournaments and really see what kind of shows up on, the guys that have, top 5, top 10, and what, it will prove out the fact that I'm on the right path. And of course, you can kind of look at, if we just take a sample, look at these guys. So you also got to remember when DeChambeau won here, he was doing a lot better in his short game and his putting. Where I think over his last, 6 events I've seen is not been good. Lee Westwood, right? So actually just a quickie dink, the best showdown money I've ever made was actually in this event. So it puts a smile on my face. I hope I can do that again. But you look at Lee Westwood where he is, very, I would say contrast with DeChambeau, hits it like 280, hits that butter fade, was the at one time the most elite irons, player out there in his heyday. And when it came back again, he had that really good Florida swing last year, but also pretty good with the putter in the short game. Corey Connors, this is an interesting one because from a betting perspective, we're going to talk about him. If his game is where it needs to be from tee to green, he's one of the best. It's does the putter show up or not? And of course, his win at Valero, almost says Sanderson Farms, which is a good comparable course. We'll talk about that. But his win there, that was on Bermuda, and he just putted lights out. Funny enough, my Richard Wierenski, who, if I checked, is not in the field because I'd probably be a sucker to go back and throw a few bucks on him. But hey, we talked about that last week where there's a possibility he could pop up. I already mentioned here, I would say more short game specialist, Jordan Spieth. I don't consider Jordan a great ball striker. I don't think he's bad, but he's not, like a Corey Connors. I would even put Wise as a better ball striker. You start looking at the top echelon guys. All right. So long story short, if you kind of look through these guys, the things that showed up, and there's a few of them, but I'm kind of focusing more off the tee and approach, which hence ball striking. The putter has to happen, but to sit there and say, no joke, but we can't pick who's going to go off, hence like a Seb Straka. You just don't know who's going to pop. So we need guys that are at least good tee to green. And then if you got them into your field and you're betting on them, if the putter pops, you're going to have a tournament winner. If you kind of go look down here, this was back in the crazy weather event. Leishman, that makes sense, right? He's an Australian, does very good. Terrell Hatton, his game at that time was, spot on. His game has not been where it was for a while now. Danny Lee, he's interesting. Always pops up in tough tracks. Had a good showing at Augusta, I believe that was 2 years ago. Harris English, funny enough, he plays very well. Just a side note, because he's not in the field. I told you he was getting surgery on his hip. Won't see him for a while. But if you ever want to put a little mental note, in tough, windy conditions, Harris English rates out as one of the better plays from historical data. So just a side note. Okay, so let's jump into the custom stat model that I've created for you guys. As always, the first thing we're going to look at is recent form. What does this mean? This is looking at their past 3 tournaments or 12 rounds of golf they played. There is no filters turned on, so I'm not looking at green type. I'm not looking at par or yardage or any of that. We're just looking at their last 3 tournaments. And again, I've rated these. Ball striking at 20%, approach at 15, off the tee at 10, putting at 10. Again, I added fairways gain, just again, how the importance of hitting the fairways is going to be here. So that kind of gives us almost 15% to the driving side. You also got sand saves around the green and that proximity 200 plus where about 30% of the shots coming in show up. Those the sand saves around the green is at 5, but I did put a little more on the prox of 200 plus at 10% because the importance of that. You got 3 of those long par 5s. I put at 5%. Need to gain strokes there. You got those long par 3s. I put at 5%. Of course, birdies and eagles. I didn't put a percent on the eagles. I wanted to save that for others, but I did put it in here just so it does throw it in with the guys. And then, again, you got 4 par 5s where they're going to need to make hay. I put 5% of that. With that said, click on my rank, and it's going to tell me the top 15 players that have done these things very well over the last 3 tournaments. No shocker, your past, recent winner, Scotty Scheffler. Keith Mitchell's been playing great golf. Doesn't have a win recently, but he's been playing really good golf. Also does well. Showed up at Wells Fargo last year with Rory. You got Hideki with a couple wins within the 2022 calendar year. Someone that if you have not burned him, which I think I already have. I remember right from a one and done. I did put a bet on him. He's 28-1. I think he's a good bet. Lonto Griffin. I'll talk about him from a betting side, but has also been playing good golf. Has played at some comparable courses as well. Cameron Young, I think, also talk about him for a bet. Been playing, pretty solid golf. Had a really good Sunday. Of course, had that showing at the Genesis. I think his game fits here better than it would at PGA National. And I think they got pretty good odds on him still. So, again, looking for a first-round winner. You got Homa M. I'm just looking at Munoz. I got him. I already bet him as a first-round leader. Has, won his at Sanderson Farms, a good comparable course. We'll talk more about those. John Rahm, of course, his game, ball striking is elite. It's just been that short game and putter's been kind of biting up Billy Ho. I think, again, it's Bermuda, and maybe these greens set to his eye a little better. Chris Kirk, Victor Hovland, I think, again, could definitely top 10 here, no problem. And then Tom Hoagie down at the very bottom. Been playing good golf and had his first win this year. Next thing I always look at, so you take recent form and then it's course history, right? That's the next thing we want to look at. So what's the history at Bay Hill for these guys? This is the last 3 tournaments they played here. And under my custom stat model, they rank out Rory, who's, I think he comes up number 1, most impeccable from the standpoint of, his course history around here. Sanjay M, of course, I used him for one and done, and he burned me. Probably burned quite a few people. It just seemed like the spot. I mean, I think Sanjay M could play almost any course and do well if he's on. I just felt like he might, out of that field, should have top 5, no problem, and then just missed a cut. That's so Sanjay M for me. He's kind of my nemesis. But anytime I jump on Sanjay, I do have some issues. Sergio Garcia makes total sense, right? He's got his most recent one would have been at Sanderson Farms, a good comparable course. Elite tee to green. If the putter pops, you never know. Terrell Hatton, again, I think recent form not so good, but has played this course very well. DeChambeau, of course, past winner. Luke List done well here. Mitchell, you can kind of see a lot of good ball strikers are going to show up. I think Jason Kokrak's interesting. I think he's 51 from a betting perspective. I have bet him. Matthew Fitzpatrick, for whatever reason, I don't think of him as a good fit. And then Stinson has played well here, but of course, his recent game, that would be a shocker. Could be a GPP, you play him and he does well, could change your tournament fortunes. All right, next thing we want to know, I think ball striking, as I mentioned, is huge here. Who's some of the best ball strikers? So right off the bat, you saw Will Z was on my kind of opening, teaser screen. I actually am thinking about him for one and done. I need some help. I need a guy that's going to top 5 or win. I was up there in the large Pat Mayo Cup, and I've been just falling. So I'm still top 25%, but just is not. I've had a couple miscuts now over this thing, and it's a little annoying because I think Cantlay killed me in Sanjay M. So there you go, the guys that you just wouldn't think. But anyways, best ball strikers, of course, there's Cameron Young pops up again. Munoz, I think he's a good sneaky. He'll be, I don't even know where his price. So DFS Draftkings pricing has not come out yet, so I apologize. But I want to get this show out as soon as possible. Also, they didn't have betting odds, which those are out, but they're not in Fantasy National here. Taylor Pendrith, kind of interesting play. Terrible short game, but crazy length. Really kind of fits the Bryson DeChambeau model. Keegan Bradley, whenever you need a good ball striker, he showed up at Sanderson Farms and then almost won, if you remember, with Burns at Valspar. Luke List, again, it just kind of repeats. Patty Kazire, who's, you guys know, if you've been with me for a while, is always kind of a broke back, fear of FOMO, where whenever I see him in the field, I've been waiting on him to pop. I don't know if this is a spot for him. I'll probably wait for Texas again. And then Alato again pops up. So I think it'd be a good play here. Been showing, has done well here in the past. And actually, I think he was up there. I don't even know where he finished last year, but I think he was in one of the end groups come Sunday last year. And then if you want to know who the best Bermuda putters are, now I could have done the Tiff Eagle thing, but I just decided let's just do Bermuda putters. No shocker. The usual suspects: Kisner, Denny McCarthy, Todd Bazanu. Todd, I feel like has not been playing well. I mean, I picked him. He did make the cut, but and I think he shot like either even or 1 under on Sunday. But his game just has not been where we hope it would be. Of course, Patrick Reed, you can just burn that. I did take the past 24 rounds. When I take putting, I like to take a larger sample. So I don't feel like Patrick Reed his game's there. You see DeChambeau, like I said, I think he was top 5 last year putting in the whole PGA field, but his putter has fallen back. And I mentioned, don't even worry about him. He has WD'd. Aaron Wise, we're going to talk about him from a betting perspective. I think that's very interesting. If you're thinking of a ball striker, and that's why I did add. So usually I give you the top 15. I added these guys because from a perspective, I wanted to put these guys in there because I'm betting them, and I want you to also understand why. You can see Young and Wise over their past, well, Young is 21 rounds, but at 24 rounds, we all know Aaron Wise typically is a horrific putter, but where he has shown up over the past, 6 tournaments he's played, Bermuda's where he actually has gained strokes with the putter. And then I threw this in just because I didn't do the Tiff Eagle, but I wanted to show you who's been the best putter over their last 3 tournaments, specifically on the greens at Bay Hill. So you got Troy Merritt, Zach Johnson, who was just named the Ryder Cup captain, which I told you, at least through Twitter last week that came out, kind of the worst kept secret ever, but they officially announced it today. Bo Hosler been playing some decent golf. Of course, he showed up at, oh geez, I'm gonna forget. Was it Pebble? No, I don't think it was Pebble Beach. It was a tournament after that. I think it was a tournament Hoagie won. Bazane Hoot, no shocker. Leishman, who's done very well here. Homa, I think is a pretty good putter. I like him better on POA, but maybe that's just my mind. Sam Burns, I think is an interesting bet. I bet him. He's 55-1. I think everybody's off him. The books. I'm a huge Sam Burns fan. His comp courses where he could play very well is this place. As we all know, guys can turn on just as easy as if they've been playing bad. So I like Sam Burns. Trying to see anybody else. Oh, then my Blackbeard, who again I was all over for PGA National. Bet him. It did not work out. Again, I'm sure I'll bet him. I don't know if I'll actually play him in DFS yet. All right. I always like this as my favorite piece of information for myself and to share. And it is my comparable courses model. And why is this important? Because it's not just looking at how they done at Bay Hill, but very similar course setups and course sizes and all that. These are my top three. And the reason why is they're all par 72, 7,400 yards, Bermuda. Now, a lot of these, except I'd say Concessions number one up there, and it only had, of course, one tournament there. But from a playability of water and everything, I think Concession, where they had the work day, which would have been, I believe, the WGC Mexico, but due to COVID, they couldn't play it. So hence, and he had a really strong field here. And Billy Horschel just was in my brain, did very well there. You had Victor Hovland, who did well. Of course, Morikawa won it, who is not in the field. You got Valero, which that's where Corey Connors won at TPC San Antonio. CCO Jackson, Sanderson Farms. You got, as I mentioned, Sergio Garcia was a winner there. Of course, Sam Burns most recently won. And then taking it back a little bit, you have Sebastian Munoz, who's won. I think his only victory has been there. Of course, again, another Sam Burns. Of course, you had Valspar, Ennisbrook, Copperhead. Wells Fargo, I think it's a pretty good comparable. You can see where Rory has had an amazing track history at Quail. It is Bermuda. It's a par 71, but it is about 7,500 yards. And then even the Houston Open, you'll see some crossover where, of course, they played at the CC of Houston. The last 2 years, they played at Memorial Park. Some similarities. Bermuda's got a little more length, and I believe that's a par 70 or 71. I forget off the top of my head. Taking that all together, no shocker. 2 wins at these courses, Sam Burns. I think Kokrak's a good bet. I think he's 50-1. I've already bet him. Literally this morning I got up and before I even did any analysis, I know this course so well. I know who it suits in my mind and put a bunch of bets out already. Paul Casey, also, I've not bet him. I don't even know what he's at, but, fits that perfect mold. Fairways, great ball striker, hits good irons. Just if the putter pops, watch out for Paul Casey. All these guys is so funny if you go through the list. Luke List, Garcia, Bradley. You can even put Rory a little bit in that camp. I think Rory's a better putter than most of these guys that I'm mentioning, but he can have a very bad putter. That's what will throw off Rory. But if it pops, it's a win. Wise, Will Z, Corey Connors. You can just see it just keeps going over and over of amazing ball strikers. You need the putter to pop for them to win. Yeah. So there you go. There's the top 15 of guys that play these kind of courses very well. Okay, so with that said, let's look at my favorite bets, and I always give this little precursor. These are not the guys that I'm like betting that should win. I'm looking for guys that could win that have better odds. So I want to put that out there, and I'll explain my bets. And of course, as I did last week, I'm going to just keep doing. I'm going to pick one long shot that I think has a shot at winning, and that'll be next for you guys. But off the bat, I already mentioned Lanto Griffin, 75-1. He's shown up here. His game's in good form for Lanto Griffin, and he can get super streaky with a putter. So 75-1, I got to bet on him to win outright. Of course, Cameron Young, 80-1. I mean, the guy's in amazing recent form. We haven't seen him ever win yet, but I mean, why not? We have all these first-time winners happening. You saw that he does putt well in Bermuda. I think this is a better fit than actually PGA National for him. So 80-1, I'm all over that. I'd be curious if those odds stay there. I would see a lot of money getting put on him. Corey Connors, 70-1. Now, Corey has not been Corey Connors from an iron-like, but very, again, a little tweak here or there. We know what Corey Connors' game is. Hit it 285 in the fairway. usually an amazing ball striker from 200 out, great with the irons. Actually, where I think he might struggle a little bit is more with the pitching wedge, shorter, distance, but I think he's great 200, 175 comparative to the field. Got a bet on him at 70 to 1. Also, where he does show up is on Bermuda, where he does have some of his best finishes. And then this is probably the craziest one, but when I saw Matthew Wolff at 110 to 1, I had to bet him. And I did, of course, put a lot on him, but Matthew Wolff, again, his game, when it is on, fits this course perfectly and is actually a very good putter, I think. Stats will show that. And I believe Matthew Wolff is so much, if things are going right, away he goes. He is, which is to his detriment, where if things start to go wrong early on, it just seems like it goes down a rabbit hole and he can't pull back out of it. So for, like I said, from a betting perspective, I'll bet him. I'm sure I'll put a lineup or two with him in it, but for 110 odds to Matthew Wolff, I have to do it. And then Aaron Wise, I think his recent form has gotten the books a bit off him. But 180 to 1 to get a guy that is typically elite tee to green and has shown up in the past that he can putt on Bermuda. And I think his last round out, he actually gained a little bit with the putter. I think it's a great bet. So that's my kind of top 5 favorite bets with the high odds, 75 to 180. And then I'm sure you guys are dying to know who's my super long shot. And first, I'll give you the data on him after, but let's just talk about right off the bat. 500 to 1 to win is Henrik Norlander. If you want to bet him top 10, he's 35 to 1. I'd like to see that more like 40 to 1, 45 to 1, but neither here or there. I don't think, maybe I did bet him top 10, but I definitely put some cash on that 500 to 1. I mean, think about it. Throw $100 on it, it's 50 grand. I'm just saying, throw a buck on it, throw a few bucks on it. It's kind of fun. But here's why I think Norlander has a small chance, just like Richard Werenski last week. I'm going to give you guys the reasoning. Is right here. First off, if you know Henrik Norlander, he is a really good ball striker. Like a Neesmith, it's the short game and the putting that typically will bite him in the butt. But he's got these 2 back-to-back 4s at Sanderson Farms, which I really do think is a great comp course. And you can see some of the tougher tracks. The Farmers here very recently, where he had a second, which people probably forgot about that. I forgot about it. He ball striked the crap out of it, just, didn't gain with the putter. But if you look, he's gained 7 strokes with the putter once before at Sanderson Farms. If we look here at Memorial, that's actually, I believe, bent. But the Sony, where he gained 8 strokes back in 2020, that was Bermuda. Let's see here. I'm trying to see if I can find anything else. Wyndham, that's Bermuda. And then Wells Fargo, I threw that to like the last thing. That's a long time ago. But that is Bermuda. It's a tough track. So that's the data behind it. But if you know enough about, watching these guys enough, Henrik Norlander, can be a really good ball striker. This course kind of fits him, but it's all about the putter in the short game. So for 500 to 1, I'm all over that for a super long shot. And with that said, that's it, guys. I greatly appreciate your time. Thank you for stopping by and spending a little time with me. I hope this helps from a betting perspective, but also get your mind going on who you might want to play from a DFS perspective. We've got $1 million coming up. Of course, I'm doing that giveaway, so don't forgive that. Make sure that you like this video, subscribe if you're not, and tell me who do you think is going to win the Players. I am interested to hear that. And again, if you're not following me on Twitter, I recommend it. Again, anything that I find out, I'm always listening, watching, keeping an eye on PGA Tour communications. I am tuned into golf. Just follow me there, and anything that comes up, you're going to know ASAP if you follow me on Twitter. All right, guys. Looking forward to the Arnold Palmer Invitational. I'm excited. As I mentioned, the best showdown pay I've ever had was at this tournament. And with that, I will talk to you guys later. Oh, and on a side note, there's Lanto Griffin. So maybe there we go. Hey, another sign that we got to bet on Lanto and maybe play him in DFS. All right, guys. Talk to you tomorrow when I give you my picks, my top 15 picks from a GPP tournament perspective. Talk to you later.